fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome to Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. Bit of a change today as we are at USA International Oval for a series of heat races, leading ourselves into a 50-minute, 120-lap feature in our Skip Barber cars. This is not the conditions they are necessarily used to. My goodness, are we actually probably set for some close and interesting racing. Can't knock it until you've tried it, and we're going to try it tonight at USA International Speedway. Heat 1 is forming up right now. I'm David Haynes. I'm joined by Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy behind the cameras and all of that other whatnot. And we have our grid behind. Beautiful sedan pace car. Let's take a quick look at who is gridding up for Heat 1. It's Jacob Anwell, Jack Patterson, Ira Felberg, Cameron Cousins, Daniel Hederscheid, Nathan Verney, Leon Williams, Greg Holmes, Scott Harvey, Peter Wilkinson, Alex John, Russell Clark, Braden Martin, Joshua Fidge Johnson. This is about half of the grid for Heat 1 and half of the grid for Heat 2, and they will sort of snake their way into the grid for the feature. Jason, what are you expecting out of these non-oval cars at a short oval?
There's either going to be carnage or it's going to go really well. So I'm sitting on the fence. Expect lots of close racing. There was very little between the whole field tonight. There's 30 plus cars, I think, in the field between the two heats, and they were all separated by less than a second. So it's going to take a mistake from someone for someone else to make a move and make the most of a position.
Pace car is in, and we're getting ready to get race 1 underway. We all will be on the edge of our seats for this one as Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series gets racing at USA International. Jacob Anwell, Jack Patterson, Ira Felberg, etc. at the front. Daniel Hederscheid, though, early moves up into third, as I can see Nathan Verney going backwards a little bit. And 2 for Greg Holmes. Side by side in the middle of the pack, but our top 3 starting to fan out. You can see what's the fastest way around this track, but it really does seem like it is hugging that low line against the apron right at that yellow line in these cars.
Yeah, taking that high line, really, you've got to maximise that mid-corner speed to get the drive off and also maintain that grip and not get held up by someone else. They've got a little bit of contact there as they come onto the back straight. There's a couple of cars making nose-to-tail contact, so we're still under green. But,
Leon Williams, that is missing his front wing and his rear wing, and he's basically come to a halt. It does seem pretty easy to damage the drive shafts on these cars. We've seen that from other contact that might have brought him to a halt. We've also seen here that the high line looking really loose. That 111 there trying to chop down to the racing line. The tail wants to kick out. All sorts of marbles we've noticed off the racing line and up high around 1, 2, and 3 and 4 at this oval.
Yeah, so the first 3 have fallen back into single file now, which is obviously the quicker way around the oval. They've got to work together as Daniel there takes a look on Jacob up the inside, seeing if he can get the move done. But as they fan back out, get back into single file and try to pull a gap on that 4th, 5th, 6th fighting position a bit further back.
Gone back and forth between our pole man, Jacob Anwell, and Daniel Hederscheid's gotten to the lead. Jacob Anwell now back into third. But these top 3 are a little bit of a breakaway from where everyone seems to be battling over 4th. Russell Clark has it now. Braden Martin in line behind him. And then Scott Harvey, I think it is. And Cameron Cousins in the mix there as this 4 is all battling over 4th. Nathan Verney at 8th. And Joshua Fidge Johnson, Peter Wilkinson. Predictable short track carnage.
Yeah, driving straight over the top of Peter. So looks like they're both back still circulating, and Peter's got a bit of damage to the front of his car there, but wheels all seem to be pointing in the right direction, and Peter heads into the pits. He might be done for race 1.
It's a pretty short heat. We're halfway through our 12 laps already now in heat number 1 for the first half of the field. It's Russell Clark, no momentum up high whatsoever. That looked like the rear really got loose on him, and you can't afford that. These aren't massively high horsepower cars. We're not dealing with a 600, 700 or more horsepower sprint car as the top line is loose in contact. is made. Braden Martin is going to drop back some positions, but hopefully continue. We're dealing with 120, 130 horsepower race cars, so you need to minimize the slip angle on these road tires.
It's like Greg Holmes has just pulled into the pits too, so he's got some dramas. But the idea is obviously to stay out of those marbles up high, because that's where Jacob come unstuck there when the two 111 cars got underneath him. Sort of got pushed a little bit high, and was just a passenger on those marbles up real slippery up high. So keep that toe low line tight and hug that bottom yellow line around the bottom of the corners, I guess.
We're looking on board with Russell Clark. No amount of counter steer here, as he did get nice and down low to the apex there. Maybe just tapping it a tiny bit to help the car rotate if it's pushing. Throw the car in early, get the apex, and Bob's your uncle potentially. So Daniel Hederscheid leading, half a second from Jacob Anwell. They're about to start 3 laps to go. Scott Harvey and Russell Clark, we were watching battling over 4th and 5th. Oh! And more cars behind.
Yeah, carnage causing carnage. Seen that plenty of times. That looks like, is it Cameron Cousins? Yeah, 27.
So Clark and Scott Harvey got into each other. Not quite sure how that one particularly started. For the lead of the heat, Hederscheid worked his way forward pretty early, but Jacob Anwell has just set the fastest lap of the race. As I say that, Daniel Hederscheid's going to go and take it away. So they are still finding speed throughout this heat, still improving their lines potentially, but it doesn't seem like the track is going away from them as a bit of rubber goes down, and a bit of heat would go down on the track as well. 29 Celsius on the track, so a warm Florida evening, but most of them are.
So white flag this time by. It's barely enough time to get heat into these radial tyres on the Skippy, so the races are running through real quick tonight. So if you're going to make a move, you've got to make it early. You haven't really got time to sit around and wait for an opportunity. You've got to make your opportunities.
This looks like turns 3 and 4 for the final time in heat number 1. Daniel Hederscheid, nothing's going to stop him taking the heat win. He moved forward, and Jacob Anwell, pole sitter, hung on with him. Ira Felberg, a bit of an oval maestro now, completes the podium, but then it was oh so close there. Braden Martin leading, Joshua Fitz-Johnson, Nathan Verney, Scott Harvey, and Russell Clark to the line. The fortunate drivers getting tangled in a bit of damage. Easy to do here when there's one racing line. Was Peter Wilkinson, Jack Patterson, Cameron Cousins, Greg Holmes, Leon Williams, and Alex John. I don't think he even took the start of that one. I think technically should have been in that heat, but that is heat 1 done. Now we move on to heat 2, which is the other half of our approximately 27-28 car field tonight. Take us through it, Jason.
So you got Darren Lasue starting off pole with Donald Sabinell off the outside row, Craig Kermond and James Chasanoff, followed by Dennis Hancock and Scott Barton rounding out the first 3 rows. So we move along, Matty Knights and Sean Doyle there on the 4th row, Jeremy Bush and Simon Dobner, followed by Justin Howe and Vic Bertezan on row number 6. Tim Corn and Alex McKellar rounding out the field, so that's heat number 2 tonight. So there's some potential front runners in amongst that field, and some of those are actually starting from the back of the row, back of the field. So
I was going to say, heat's drawn from a hat, allegedly. But it definitely feels like, just from looking down the names in Heat 2, this one is maybe just no disrespect to anyone in Heat 1. This one looks just a little more stacked. We've got previous race winners in here, and previous podium place finishes aplenty between Chastanoff, McKellar, Sean Doyle. This one feels like a pretty strong heat as well, I would say. Especially with Alex John not taking the grid in Heat 1 like he should have.
So you've got Tim Corn in there, who's had plenty of podiums. Said Alex McKellar, so there's some names there that are going to make their way through the field. And as I suggested before, it's really 12 laps runs around here pretty quick. It's 25 seconds a lap or thereabouts. So there's not really a lot of time to see a couple of cars there trying to get some heat into the tyres and warm them up. So once those lights go green, they're ready to attack.
Precisely. Again, just 12 short laps of USA International Speedway, which is a 3/4 mile. Yes, oval, 1.21 kilometers. So actually not super duper tiny, but still It feels like it. Spent a lot of time in the corners and not a lot of time going down the straights. This makes passing difficult, minimises the effect of the slipstream, and means that anyone who can handle a loose car, a car with and a lane up from the inside, will probably be at a good advantage. But it seems like that's where all of the problems came in Heat 1, as far as I'm concerned. It really looked like the cars up high were sort of getting loose and coming down into the low lane, and then there was nowhere for those other cars to respond.
So pace cars in, and a green flag is being waved. We're away for heat number 2, and a good start there by the front row, making a bit of a gap on Chastanoff there in third. Looks like everybody's made it through the first couple of corners all right, so it's a matter of trusting those around you and getting your head down and trying to make some progress.
Yeah, no doubt. James Chastanoff, bit of progress as he's around the outside, mighty loose on those cold tyres, as these cars can be when the rears are cold. Trying to get around the outside of Darren Lesueur, it would seem, and Scott Bartine is going to get his nose in front there. So Sabinal doing well to get away at the lead, battling too wide here, and it's not favouring the drivers on the outside. Chastanoff, Lesueur, Scott Bartine, Craig Kermond are all in this here, and Chastanoff in blue and yellow, half a lane up, really struggling to keep the car pointing the correct way. I'm going to ride on board with him as he has to. Well, now he's going to try to tuck back in low line to see if there's any grip there, but that is really checked up between Barton and the 90, and in fact, they're going to make a bit of contact. Lesueur and Hancock are into each other in the wall. That wheel is no good whatsoever, and they'll probably tow before the field comes back around again.
Yeah, the minimal banking here at this track really doesn't allow those cars on the outside to maximise their mid-corner speed, so they've got to hold that low line or be really confident in that loose car, like I said earlier, to have that drive off the corner and make that pass happen.
Chastanoff got himself to the low line for second place here, and we're seeing Scott Bartine half a car lane up high. Going to carry some decent momentum here against Chastanoff, who has to try to defend the inside. Pack still really close behind them. Chastanoff down low, inside front tyre to the yellow line, and trying to let the car breathe up the track a little bit and let the two guys behind potentially battle over the position a bit.
It was these guys battle for position in that second through to about 6th position. Donald Sabinal's out the front now, got himself over a 2-second lead, so he's well and truly got some clear air around him, so he can just concentrate on banking some clean laps, hitting those apexes and getting a good drive out of the corner, and leave the rest of them to fight over the loose change.
I think Barton in the 111 car starting to run out of the progress, and Matthew Mites is getting down the inside of him on the corner entry, but then struggling with the pace on the corner exit. Same true for Chastanoff now, 3 wide for second place. Sean Doyle has an interesting look at it. Look away now, Mama Doyle. This could end poorly. And 111 car of Bartine loose in the middle. Sean Doyle ends up with nowhere to go, and suddenly Matthew Mites clear in second place. 3 wide once again. Everyone trusting Chastanoff in the middle.
Yeah, there's a couple of those locked-on ledge cars there in that little battle, so they've got to be careful not to make contact with each other. So they might be... there's different teams within the championship. They might not be necessarily in the same team, but running the same colours, it's not going to be a conversation you want to have at the end of the heat race if you've taken out your teammate.
Oh, big loose moment. Luckily, they managed to catch it, and I thought that was going to end in another one of our big crashes. But for Jeremy Bush, he managed to pick it up, get it going. Interestingly, Alex McKellar in 9th has gone and set the fastest lap of the race. There's another super loose moment from Sean Doyle this time. So McKellar, deep in the pack, is actually flying when he can run the line he wants to, but he's run out of time in a 12-lap heat. But maybe keep an eye on him when feature time comes after this.
So 3 to go this time by. There's still plenty of action to be had. There's smoke
In the background there is.
Yeah.
That is quite a bit of damage there for Tim Court, and might have gotten together with
Craig Kermond, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Looks like some suspension damage there to Craig. He's got sparks coming out the back as he tries to make his way down to the low line and stay off the racing line.
Howe and Doyle, both of them all the way to the inside on the front stretch, and that means Howe is able to hold on to his position. Doyle really running a bit on the apron there. Alex McKellar all the way up high. Has he got the momentum to steal a position or two on the final lap of the race. White flag is waiting for them now. Donald Sabanel's already taken it more than 3 seconds clear of the rest of the field. He has enjoyed not being part of this battle pack. Chastanov has not enjoyed being part of it because down the inside, he is going to lose third place to Matthew Mites the way it's going.
Yeah, final lap down. There's 3 fighting for 2 positions on the podium, so it's only one of these is going to miss out. But the checkered flag gets waved. It's like Donald's already taken the chocolates.
Chastanov in a drag race with Mites for third, and I think Chastanov managed to just grab it at the bottom of the picture there. They were absolutely nose to nose coming to this checkered flag, and then it's Howe, McKellar, Doyle, Bush, etc. There is your official gap between Chastanov and Mites for third. At the kind of speeds they were doing, it looked even closer than that 400ths of a second, and understandably, everyone in the grandstand wanted a photo of that. Official order. Sabanel, that is a good run from him in the heat, means he's going to start in a good position for the feature. 3 seconds clear of Scott Barton. James Chastanov just held on to third ahead of Matthew Mites. Justin Howe, Alex McKellar, Sean Doyle, Jeremy Bush, Simon Dobner, Craig Kermond, then 2 laps down with that damage that we saw. Dennis Hancock with damage, Tim Corn, Vic Bentveltzen, Darren Lesueur all with damage. So in just 12 short laps, a lot of carnage can happen. What is going to happen now as we grid up for tonight's feature race? It is Heddershide, your Heat 1 winner on the front row on the inside. Sabanel, your Heat 2 winner on the front row on the outside. And all down the inside row will be their finishing orders from Heat 1. All down the outside row, their finishing order from Heat 2. So it's Heddershide, Sabanel, Jacob Anwell, Scott Barteen, Ira Felberg, James Chastanov, and Braden Martin, Matthew Mites, Josh Fidge Johnson, Justin Howe, Nathan Verney, and Alex McKellar.
So Scott Harvey and Sean Doyle there in row number 7, and Russell Clark with a bit of work to do tonight, sitting beside Jeremy Bush there in car 4, Peter Wilkinson in car 268, and on the outside of row number 9 we've got Simon Dobner, car number 33. And Cameron Cousins, Craig Kerman there, Jack Patterson and Dennis Hancock, and in row 12 we've got Greg Holmes and Tim Corn. So Tim a long way back, Leon Williams and Vic Ben Velson and Alex John and Darren Lesueur rounding out the field.
Wow, look at that, Ben Velson and John and others really, really deep in the field. And maybe for the last time tonight, get a good look at that sedan pace car. Tastes like unbranded, unlicensed content. The other thing I'm noticing, though, is the state of the marbles about 2 lanes up off the inside through the corners. I think they've built up through the heats, and this track is very rubbered in now on the racing line, but, well, very, very marbly up against the wall. I can imagine someone ending up there and then just skating into the concrete. It is mighty, mighty slippery and dirty and dusty up there. So that's not where I'd want to be racing. I reckon the Heat 1 guys are very, very lucky, very delighted that they are the inside row for this race start. 120 laps. The pace sedan is in. And your pole sitter, Daniel Heddershide, has really hung back, and Donald Sabanel, good jump around the outside. I wonder if that's going to be allowed to stand or he'll end up with a penalty. But your top 3 appear to be cleanly away. James Chastanov in the high side hell once again for the race lead. This is Scott Barton down the inside of Donald Sabanel and his Team 111 teammate of Heddershide trying to follow suit.
So the trick in this particular race, like you said, 120 laps, they've got to get out of that sprint race mentality and now think about it, the big picture, the long game. So we've got 120 laps around here, or roughly 50 minutes. So it's a matter of trying to keep a clean car, stay out of the wall, and stay out of someone else's way. The last thing you want is someone running into the back of you and causing some suspension damage in your night prematurely.
What's the tyre you're going to be trying to preserve here? Is it going to be that front right? Is it going to be the rear right? Or just everything on the right-hand side for 120 laps, 240 turns?
I think preserve the car more so than the tyres.
Now think about that suspension as well. We've seen how fragile that can be. The contact with the outside wall, contact with another car, all of them very likely. A lot of 2 wide racing here. Chastanov is on the outside. Alex McKellar has made some positions up into 10th around the outside, and Sean Doyle is low, and on the outside of him would be Joshua Fitz-Johnson. Oh, that's pushed up wide, and we're 3 wide.
Alex McKellar there, just lifting ever so slightly, a bit of a heart and mouth moment as the car on the outside there got loose, but everybody survived to fight another day, so that was well caught there to continue on. They're starting to, they've still got some 2x2 action, but they're starting to get single file throughout the field, so I think they've quickly worked out the quick way is the low line, and you're not going to gain a lot of positions and sticking up high and hoping for the best.
And Howe's been super aggressive getting down to that low line as well there in black and white. Hearing word of a penalty. I think it might be Donald Sabanel for jumping the start. He was not the pole sitter. He was on the outside of the front row, and he definitely got to the start line before the pole sitter did. And here he is coming in, I think, to serve that black flag. So just not taking the rolling start as he should have. He's going to be very, very costly with how early it is in the race. Would be surprised to see him recover. But the other thing we can expect to see in a 120 lap race that we didn't see much of in a 12 lap heat is the traffic, that short track traffic start to come into effect. That could make some headaches for our leaders.
Yeah, so no doubt Donald had himself a game plan and a bit of a race strategy at the start of the race, and that's obviously gone out the window now, so it's a matter of regrouping and serving his black flag penalty, pulling himself together and getting back on focus and back on track. So he's got some work to do, but he's certainly shown he's had the speed. He's successful in the heat races to be up in front of the pack for the start of the race. So fingers crossed he can keep his car clean and work his way back through.
One of the big movers so far, Justin Howe is up into second now. 8 positions gained, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race as well. So he is on a real tear here. Chase down Scott Bartine in the lead. You also saw how crazy some of the battling was getting behind there. Jacob Anwell, good heat, but he's trying to make the higher line work, and it has not for him. He got super loose in the white and salmon, and he's got a view of James Chastanoff and Daniel Hederscheid. As Hederscheid's got the inside, but not the momentum. Of course, he's still going to keep his nose in there, but Chastanoff tries to drive it in hard, take that inside line away, and he'll do that, but then gets poor momentum off the corner because he had so much slip angle through the middle of the corner, diving it in that hard.
Yeah, good trust by those two cars there. James and Daniel have done plenty of laps together, so they know what each other's capable of, and they're both very smart drivers, so obviously thinking about the long game, and if you've got to concede a position now, there's plenty of time on track to fight another day, so smart driving there by Daniel.
2x2 behind these guys though, between McKellar and Doyle, and almost losing track here. It's Russell Clark and Braden Martin currently side by side. Braden Martin trying the high line. I wouldn't say it was necessarily successful, but he's going to keep on trying. Now he slots back in, tries to get down low, and he's watching those cars fight side by side in front of him, wondering how am I going to pick off position from them. But Russell Clark definitely has the same idea and is protecting the inside. Gives a great run up high to Braden Martin, but then that ends up going, it's fair to say, just about nowhere.
Yeah, plenty of room being given, so getting very close to the wall there, Braden, and carrying good mid-corner speed, so he almost won't have the job done here on Russell Clark.
I'd say so if it weren't for the guys in front being too wide and giving him nowhere to take that momentum. Right up behind Alex McKellar here. Sean Doyle doing a good job just to hold that low line, hold that inside, let no one get to the inside of him, and then he can just keep holding on to 7th place. But he almost gave a sniff to Russell Clark there, who had to roll out of it a little bit. So rude to call Sean Doyle a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment. He's defending very well, and that is what this style of racing can often come down to.
Yeah, so patience is a virtue. The difficulty there sitting behind a couple of cars, if one gets loose and like you said comes down, you you could become an innocent victim of someone else's misfortune there very easily in your
Justin
racing.
Howe to the lead. He's gotten in front of Scott Barton, but it's cost them both a bit of time and a bit of momentum, I think, because suddenly Matthew Mites and James Chastanoff and Daniel Heddershide's just set the fastest lap of the race in 5th. So while Howe and Barton were, I think, away and clear in the lead, whatever it took for Howe to get to first place has cost both of these guys some time. Suddenly it's a 6-car fight for the lead. Every car you see pictured here battling for position. And then you've got to look at another 3 seconds back at Sean Doyle. But Heddershide, another fastest lap of the race, improving and improving and improving. How's he finding all of this speed?
Yeah, the slipstream here is obviously not to the effect of what the skippies are used to. So they're quite often rely on good slipstream to get a move done. And being such a short track and minimal time on the straight, there's not a lot of options there for not a lot of availability to make the most of that. So he's actually Daniel's showing really good speed and consistency, just picking lap after lap and setting the fastest lap time.
Jason, do we know what gears they're using? Is it 3rd through the corners, 4th down the straights, holding 4th gear? What kind of, obviously fixed ratios in the 5-speed gearbox? Someone's in the fence up the back there. Craig Kermond? Yeah, unfortunately, Craig Kermond again. Didn't go well in his heat either, but luckily the feature race, definitely time to get the car back out there again. But we continue to see this Sean Doyle pack battle. What are our thoughts on the gear ratios they might be using?
The risk, I guess, of dropping it back into 3rd and trying to get that drive out of the corner is we've seen plenty of engines blown in the last couple of series by people over revving. So if it was me, I'd probably try and maintain that 4th speed, carry a bit more mid-corner speed and sacrifice some exit speed just for some engine reliability, I think.
Well, side by side for the lead, because Scott Barton wants to take it back away from Justin Howe. He's gotten to the inside, and this going side by side is costing him speed and momentum, because suddenly, look at Chastanoff and Mites and Heddershide and Jacob Anwell all in the party now. 2 by 2 by 2, 6-car fight for the lead. And I have to say, I think Barton is in the best seat right now. Justin Howe is going to be compromised up high like that.
Yes, everybody wants to lead the field by the looks of them. No one's quite content just to sit there at the moment. But as we sit here and we watch Jacob, he's got absolutely nowhere to go. He's sort of tucked in behind Matthew Mites there and finds himself with limited options other than to just keep circulating and keep his car off that wall.
I'd call that move done. I'd call that Scott Barton back in the lead of this race. It definitely looked like it on corner exit. He was a whole car clear. I think about now he could come up and block out Scott Barton or just continue to defend the inside. He has his choice now. Scott Barton, your race leader. Oh, look at that move from Chastanoff down the inside of Howe. Caught him napping, and I think that's what you've got to do if you're going to make a position forward here. Chastanoff just wasn't looking aggressive, and then when his prey was lulled into a false sense of security, boom, threw it in down low, managed to make it grip against the apron, and that's up into 2nd for Chastanoff.
Chastanoff ever the opportunist, and just like I said, given a little bit of a sniff there and a bit of a look, and you haven't really got time to think about it. You've just got to act on your instinct, otherwise the door gets shut and your chance of making a move gets closed on you. So James very, very quick there to react.
Justin Howe in 3rd, still the 2nd biggest mover in the field after Alex John, who started back of the grid and is now moving up into 15th. So even though he's gone from the lead back into 3rd, it's still an admirable race so far from Justin Howe. Easy for me to say.
You got to remember, people like they're actually in fighting their way through the field as well. So they're actually putting in great lap times, picking off positions one by one. But at the same time, they're also taking on challenges from those around them very, very close there. The battle pack between Braden Martin at the moment and Sean Doyle.
Yeah, Martin trying to pull a Chastanoff on Sean Doyle. Didn't work. Doyle's obviously been defending very, very well, but not enough to keep McKellar and Russell Clark behind. They've gotten in front of him, and those two are, I think, sensibly working together, trying to get away from this mess. We're just the nose to the inside, but not close enough for Braden Martin to be able to throw it down there. But he had a look, had a feeler, didn't quite work. So this clever stuff from McKellar and Clark have actually been going faster than the leading pack. Now they've broken clear of Sean Doyle, and Russell Clark is just letting Alex McKellar do his thing, run his lines without too much worry.
We've actually got the leaders. Sorry, we're here on lap 28 now, so we're almost, fifth of the way through the race, and we're actually coming up to the first of our lap traffic, just in the foreground. So it hasn't taken them long to catch the back of the cars that are still circulating.
Yeah, and with all those laps done, it's interesting to still see your top 16 within about 6 seconds of each other. So a mistake or any damage would cost you big time. There's no limping it around and holding on to your position. You can see Vernie, 16th, can see the leader on the same straightaway as him, only just going into turn 1 as he was coming onto the straight. So, hey, you can see a lot of laps still to run in this thing. You would not give up were you someone in the pack here like Jeremy Bush or Alex Johnson, Nathan Vernie, 14th, 15th, 16th. And a look from Braden Martin once again at Sean Doyle, who's now moved about half a car width up off the apron. I wonder if that's intentional or just the way he's been running has worn out those tyres. Martin desperately wants to be able to get his nose to the inside, to get the low line, to get the run, and he might just this time. I think he's thereabouts. I think he rolled out of the throttle then.
Yeah, that's a risky run by running that sort of half a car length higher than sitting on the apron. You just give someone a little sniff and they take that opportunity, and all of a sudden you find yourself pushed up onto the marbles and cars getting really loose, and then you're in all sorts of hurt.
Scott Barton leading, James Chastanoff in second, Justin Howe in third in front of us as we ride on board with fourth placeman Daniel Hederscheid.
It's going to be interesting how these guys play out as they come into lap traffic, so whether you want to be at the front of the pack or whether you want to sort of sit behind and...
Oh, problem for Doyle, he's in the fence. Was it Doyle? Someone's in the fence. It was Sean Doyle. There's a lot of damage on that car for him. Was it an opportunistic move? Did he make a mistake? Did he get too much of the apron? I only caught it out the corner of my eye as he was sliding up and into the concrete wall in turns 3 and 4. We're going to take a look. Braden Martin behind, and behind Braden Martin was someone else. So Martin's down the inside. Martin's looking for the move here. Just turns in a little bit later than Doyle was expecting. A little bit of front to rear contact sent Doyle into the wall. Nothing malicious or really clumsy in that I thought. I think you just see some drivers point it towards the apex and others turn in late, and Martin's a turn in late kind of driver, and Doyle's already bringing it down. Well, what do you see about that?
There was relatively light contact into the wall with the back of Doyle's car on the right hand side, but it was enough that you could see that the suspension there failed as he makes his way into the pit stand. Oh no, that's Leon Williams there.
Leon Williams on the lane for the first time. Hederscheid getting down the inside of James Chastanoff. Now Jacob Anwell on the inside of Chasty.
The other thing I haven't really thought about, traditionally we tend to change the front tyres on these cars, but if we're continually turning left, it'll be interesting to see whether anybody actually changes just the left-hand tyres, front rear. It's just a different aspect and different approach a lot of these drivers have to consider tonight, being an oval race, something that the skippies in the Ozicar Series haven't done before. So there's going to be a few different hit strategies, I guess, throughout this 120 lap feature race.
Is this a car where you can check or uncheck individual tyres, or is it just front to rear? Check fronts, check rears. Because I know for a lot of oval cars you can check lefts, check rights, but you can't change an individual tyre. And then there are some cars like the McLaren F1 where you change all 4 or you change none. Is this a vehicle where you can pick and choose individual tyres?
Yeah, so with the skippies, we've normally got the option of fronts or rears or lefts or rights. We can mix and match them, but just traditionally to try and keep the maximum heat in the rear tyres, we just change out the fronts. So there will be some variances tonight in how people approach this, as we've got a car facing the wrong way at pit entry there, so I don't know whether anything's happened, but it's a bit of a strange spot to be parked up.
Sure, the only car I can see not moving is Donald Sabinal? No. Simon Dobner.
Yeah, whoever it was, they're obviously back around and going the right way again, so it wasn't a race-ending incident.
We are going to see a little bit of contact, and that's what sees him facing the wrong way. Just nose to tail from Vic Veltzen, and then it's, of course, a difficult place. Sort of thing facing the way you'd want. It's all kicking off still. Your top 6 has become a top 8 because McKellar and Clark have managed to join the party. Dennis Hancock is on the lane.
I went quiet there for a minute because I was just trying to concentrate to see what he was actually changing. I didn't see the car jack up and any tyres change, so he might have just been stopping for fuel. Unless he was serving a penalty.
Interesting. So this is the view from one of the locked on lads behind Anwell, so it had to be Matthew Mites. Sure is. He's in 6th.
So the top 7 there, all separated by less than a second. So there's Alex McKellar's made his way up to position 6 there on the back of that train. So 6 wasn't enough. There's now we've got 7 to fight for the lead position. So just to add a bit more, another equation into the party here.
Not sure they're going to start coming up on a little bit of traffic, but is Barton leading, who we ride on board with, and then Howe and Chastanoff. Scott Harvey going for the lane, still before the halfway point of this race. So if we're expecting to see a pit stop, I guess the sensible strategy would be somewhere nearer to the halfway point, I imagine. Track position often relatively valuable on a short track, although if you are going to go new tyres, probably want to go earlier because then you can use that advantage. Huge dive to the inside is a dive to the pit lane for Justin Howe and McKellar and Russell Clark. There we go.
Yeah, busy in pit lane there at the moment, so...
Let's keep an eye on those jack stands, I guess, won't we?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes out of here first. I'm not sure whether front tyres are quicker to change than rears or vice versa. It's something that probably should have done a bit of research before I sat down tonight, but it could mean the difference between getting out in front of a group or getting stuck behind someone as you exit pit lane. So, is that our leader heading into the pits as well, Scott Barton?
Yeah, indeed. So, he's getting busy on pit lane. For Russell Clark and Justin Howe, just 15 seconds of service. Alex McKellar somehow with a 26-second stop, so maybe I need to rewind the tape and see exactly what he did, but it is longer than his competitors in Russell Clark and Justin Howe. You can see more drivers head aside. A few mites now reached a critical mass where more drivers have pitted than haven't. Chastanoff, Jacob Anwell are carrying on. I dare say from the positioning of Chastanoff that he's thinking about that pit entry. Not this time, though.
Well, it's not just when you pit, it's also about where other cars are around you. Wow, that's commitment into pit lane.
Lighting it up, smoking them on the way to the pit lane limit, but it almost ended up in that attenuator, in that sort of tyre barrier. We are going to have a look here. We are turning, we're braking, we start losing the rear a little bit. The tail was out. I thought the tail was going to collect that concrete barrier, but just get away with that one. A little on board. Now, on the live pictures, Chastanoff, Jacob Anwell, Braden Martin, Joshua Fitz-Johnson, etc. all on the lane, leaving just Ira Thelberg, Tim Court, and Nathan Verney yet to pit. Where are some of these guys going to rejoin? Because otherwise, the lead is going to belong to Russell Clark. By the way it goes at the moment. He's in front of Hederscheid and Barton and Mites and others.
So we're still before the halfway point of the race. There's 7, 8 cars now in pit lane. So very, very busy in there at the moment. So it's going to be critical where these guys actually come out, whether they come out into a clean bit of air or whether they're going to get caught up in traffic. Where the advantage of pitting relatively early might have been more advantageous.
This is our last 2 cars yet to pit, and now they are on the lane. Russell Clark is going to become your race leader. So he's had a very quick pit stop. He was obviously with the top 8, and we said that they were almost all within a second. So to have a 2-second faster pit stop launched him into the lead with a 2-second lead for Russell Clark. He's done well sticking with the pack and being very efficient on the pit lane.
The surprise at the moment, Tim Corner, after that early black flag incident, found himself back up into P3, so he's served his penalty. But he may have to pit again, because I don't think you're allowed to serve your tyres or fuel pretty early in the race to take on anything like that. So he's done well to get himself back up to the pointy end of the field, but that might be a short-lived exercise.
Resting on board with Nathan Verney. 14th. So he's looking at Tim Corn, Alex McKellar, and James Chastanoff in front of him. How the mighty have fallen. A long stop for Chastanoff. Sees our one-time race leader back in 11th place at the moment, and he's being hounded by Alex McKellar at the moment. Alex John, big mover now after these pit stops, up 19 places, and he's lining up for a couple more.
Another variable a lot of the drivers have to try and keep in the back of their mind and be aware of is who's coming out on cold tyres. So if you've pitted early and you've got heat back in your tyres and you've come up on someone who's just exited the pits, it's really going to be a good opportunity to make some moves and gain some positions and get the job done. But I'm not sure how many people are just aware of this. There's a lot of cars out there in a lot of different positions, so it's going to be difficult for those drivers to keep an eye on who's pitted and when, so you have that trust and that faith in those around you that they're going to be able to give you room and hold that grip.
Looks like our top 16 on the lead lap. This is Jacob Anwell in 4th. He's 4 seconds behind 3rd. So your top 3 have scampered away of Russell Clark, Daniel Hederscheid, and Scott Barton. And now we're side by side for 4th place. Matthew Mites trying to go quicker around the high side. They rub. And through all of that, here comes Braden Martin down low to scoop another position away from Anwell. You see this every time. Braden Martin really likes to turn in late to these corners. And seems to be maybe catching some of the other drivers around unawares as he sort of hangs them high.
Yeah, well, Braden had a good result in heat number 1. He finished 4th and started this race out of 7th. So he's got the speed to run with these guys, and he's proven that he's got the ability there to stick it down the inside, hold it, and have that car control to make the pass stick.
Since we saw him last, John's picked off Joshua Fidge-Johnston and is now looking at Anwell. And Daniel Hederscheid's also managed to close Russell Clark for the lead, but this might be a mistake from Braden Martin. Goes a bit high following Matthew Mites, and now Jacob Anwell will look to get that position back. Anwell's still the holder of the fastest lap of the race so far at the moment, which is 24.1. Matches the sort of 24.2, 24.3 they've been running over the last couple of laps. So the pace not dropping away massively, but it has been a while since Anwell set that fastest lap, I think.
So we are at the halfway point of the race now, so now's the time for these drivers to start thinking about where they want to position themselves and those around for the rest of the race. I don't think there's going to be another pit stop. I don't think their fuel is going to be an issue towards the end of the race.
Never say never.
True.
We'll keep an eye on it. Everyone did pit handily before the halfway point of the race. It must be remembered.
So Hederscheid's on the move now. He's down to with 0.2 of a second. So that gap, I think, when Russell Clark came out of the pits was over 2 seconds. So Hederscheid's definitely got some mid-race speed at the moment. Russell Clark's going to find himself here with a pink car filling up his mirrors. If anyone can make this little Skip Barber 3 metres wide, I'm sure Russell Clark's the man to do it.
Yeah, we'll see what the current state of the track, current state of the tyres means for Hederscheid. gotten a lap clear of Peter Wilkinson, Leon Williams, some others, but there is still going to be the constant looming threat of traffic. Barton in a bit of no man's land in third, and then of course the fight over fourth. Jacob Anwell has found another late burst of speed. He's gotten past one, but now he's scared by Alex John getting down the inside. John's gonna hold that one, I imagine. Problem, neither Hooters sign for Jeremy Bush.
Yeah, a bit of an innocent spin there, I think. So he's managed to get the car back underway and get off the racing line. So green flag continues.
Can be tempting to hook a little bit of that apron to help the car rotate mid-corner if that's what you're struggling with, but then it'll unsettle the car and send you for a spin if you get too much of it. So that could be something to keep in mind at this point of the race if some of the guys are starting to struggle with some understeer.
Well, the other thing we haven't spoken about is the Skip Barbers here in the Ozicar Series normally operate under a random safety car. So
Anwell and Martin. Matthew Mites. Just pure wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side contact there, but these are open wheels, and that thing doesn't look like it's going anywhere, and that's on the tow hook for poor Matthew Mites. Take a second look. So Anwell up high is side-by-side with Martin. Mites is behind up high, and this is what I'm talking about, that late turn-in from Martin. Anwell's taking his line, and then trying to avoid that. Mites collects...
Bridge Johnson, I think it might have been.
Yeah, it was Joshua Fitch Johnston. So he didn't know where to look, and he's actually collected someone else rather than those two, and it's ended up with him in the wall and some damage on his Skippy.
So as we count down the laps, we've got 53 laps to go, and the top three at the moment separated by 2.5 seconds. The front two have made a bit of a gap, and we've got Scott Barton there at the moment in third position. A bit of a lonely race for him. He's nowhere near fourth, and he's got a bit of a gap to the guys in front. So we might be relying on a safety car to get a few of these cars back onto a lead lap, potentially later in the race.
If it means the likes of Chastanoff or McKellar took on more fuel earlier, then a safety car would help them get some of that time back, or in the case of a second pit stop, we might see them going shorter at a final pit stop and gaining some of that back. So the first stop was slower and longer than the average. Don't count out maybe seeing them again. Mites is back on track. Chastanoff's on pit lane for a second time. Well, he went 49 laps from the start of the race, and we are now at 49 laps to go. So if this is a two-stop strategy and Chastanoff is covering it off as soon as the pit window opens, right now is when I would expect him to pit. I think this is covering off the potential of a safety car from James Chastanoff by pitting early.
Yeah, I think it might be a very smart move. So Chassey's still actually on the lead lap, even though he's done that pit stop now. So was a quick pit stop that time. He's put himself in a pretty good position if the yellow flag gets thrown.
Drivers are going to follow suit. My goodness, that scares me on the pit entry every time. A couple of these guys playing chicken with that. Braden Martin got so close to it. And because the likes of Chastanoff took on a lot of fuel at the first stop, it was a really short fill on that one, just to brim the tank to the point where it'll get him home. Will anyone else react to Chastanoff and Martin? Maybe someone like Daniel Hederscheid in second, who's not able to make the move for the lead. Alex McKellar is in. And now I think we're starting to see the real deviation in the strategy. Who's going to go long versus who is going to take that opportunity the minute the pit window opens.
Yeah, it's just another car contact there. Might have been Doyle on the outside of turn number 4 there. He's still circulating, but there was definitely sparks, and the car got thrown hard left as he exited the corner there. So he might be in for an opportunity, a quick pit stop, get the car looked at and get back out there.
And we'll
jump on board with Josh Johnson here at the moment. So he's having a good little battle with Jacob Ornell at the moment. So in that salmon car, as you called it, sitting currently in 5th and 6th position.
hard to tell the colour exactly under light, but yeah, I stand by that.
There's quite a few cars out there that still have both their front and rear wings, so that's a good sign that the race has been relatively incident-free so far tonight. Hard to pick a spot on the track where there's not actually a couple of little battle packs still going on. So what are we now? 176 laps into the race.
Ahead of Scheid and Clark swap for the lead because Clark locks it up on his way to pit lane. So from the race lead, I assume this is actually going to be quite a long second stop for Russell Clark. If he went quite short on the fuel early, he's not alone in these pit lane gambles. Is that just coming out of the pit lane now? It would have been Jeremy Bush. So the drivers who've made the second stop, the highest up at the moment, it's going to be between Russell Clark and Chastanoff.
So 11.1 second pit stop by Russell Clark, so he's exited back out now, and he finds himself a little bit further down the field than where he was when he went in, obviously. So he's sitting around the 10th position now, I think.
Well, in 12th, but well ahead of Chastanoff, the next car to have made his pit stop. So it's still looking good for Clark at the minute, which Johnston and others are going to cover off that move as we approach 80 laps done. We're on lap 80 now, 40 to go. After the second stop, Clark still comfortably ahead of Chastanoff. Dennis Hancock, you don't like to see that. He's gone and missed his pit crew and needed to engage reverse gear. And again, the problem here for Dennis Hancock, well, the timer starts now, so that could have been Ochi Painful, Peter Wilkinson in the lane as well, Darren Lesueur, etc. Getting busy down there again with 40 laps to go.
So we sit on board at the moment with Ira Felberg, I think it is, with Tim Corn and Nathan Verney behind.
It's definitely the nose of Nathan Verney we're looking at. This is going to stick it down the inside. This is where the trouble has happened sometimes. Well, he gets a very, very wide berth from Tim Corn. So much so that Nathan Verney, it might have been, was like almost looking to get angling to get a lap back. No, angling for position, not sure. Here comes Barton onto the lane once again.
So Nathan's showing some good late race pace here at the moment. He's looking very racy as he's sitting currently in position 7.
Today's big mover, Alex John, on the pit lane for his final stop. Not going to want too much more than 10 seconds of fuel. It's up to counter stops at 14.2, and that's, give or take, that's correct. But he is not going to come out ahead of Russell Clark. He's not struggle to stay ahead of James Chastanoff. Burning in some court. Going longer. Now scored 4th and 5th. Haven't made their second stop yet.
No, I'd expect him to make his way into the pits very, very shortly for that run home. I think he was last of the pitters in the first portion or first section of the race. So he will typically be towards the end of the pit stop strategies the second time around here. Him there just leaving the door open a little bit there. He looked almost vulnerable there as he headed into turn 3.
Had a shot on the lane from the lead now, leaving just Jacob Onwell, Tim Cornt, Nathan Verney, and Greg Holmes yet to make a second stop. So now they are, and RF Elberg. definitely not on the, well, it seems like the more common, the preferred strategy, which is cover off that final stop when you can.
So with 34 laps to go now, and I think this is the first time that Jacob Ornell's actually had some clear air around him. He spent most of this race in a bit of a battle pack and sitting on the edge of his seat, but I think he'll be relishing the option to lead the race at the moment. He's got a 3-second gap to the car behind in Ira Felberg, who's yet to pit. So it might be an option for him to get some clean laps in, make a gap on those that he was battling with, and make hay while the sun shines.
Daniel Hederscheid came out of the pit lane in the net race lead. Russell Clark's taken it away from him. Now Hederscheid wants it back. These guys are battling for what will become the lead of the race, 5 seconds ahead of James Chastain. So that is Hederscheid using the low line back into the net race lead. Going to trade it 3 times now. I fancy with about 10 to go, this could become a real elbows out tussle for the lead of the race, especially if they stay clear of Chastanoff, Alex John, Jacob Onwell when he pits, etc. These guys have quite a little bit of time in their back pocket. And it's mountains of time if you compare it to how close the field was before the first pit stop. You had 16 cars within about 5 seconds. Now, backwards from Russell Clark, there's nothing for position for about 5 seconds. So that is, in relative terms, on a track like this, in a race like this, a quite large lead that these two enjoy.
So as we sit at the moment, we've only got 6 cars on the lead lap, and there's a couple still at the front of the field that are yet to pit. So these two here have got to play it pretty smart at the moment, not getting themselves trip over each other and get involved in a battle. With 29 laps to go now, there's still plenty of time to make a move, but you also don't want to get caught up and end up with some wing damage or suspension damage, and you've come this far in the race, the last thing you want to do is end it prematurely.
Especially once you've already taken what you hoped was going to be your final pit stop. There was maybe a window of time there where a little bit of damage, you know, oh, let's take my pit stop early now and, you know, cover that off and be clear to the run to the end. But now they've already made their final service, field to the end. Any damage or anything that necessitates a pit stop would mean an extra pit stop on top of those that they've already done. So just 4 drivers out front, yet to make their final stop. Jacob Onwell, Ira Felberg, Tim Corn, Nathan Verney, and then comes Daniel Hederscheid and Russell Clark, where we believe the lead battle to be. Scott Barton's meeting the sandwich here with Alex John in front and Braden Martin behind.
I'm just having a little bit further look back in the pack, and there's still some Tim Corn there running side by side with car 163 Jack Patterson there, so there's still plenty happening back in the field.
Yeah, our battles for position at the moment are Tim Court and Nathan Verney, then Daniel Hederscheid and Russell Clark, and Alex John, Scott Barton and Braden Martin together, and Matthew Mites and Greg Holmes, I think, have traded a position or 2 as well. As we have 25, maybe 24 of our 28 starters running.
I think our only retirement so far, Donald Savinill's retired, I think Cameron Cousins has left the room, and probably Justin Howe. But I think that's probably the only 3 that I recall. Simon Dobner might have pulled the pin as well by the look of the lap count.
Dobner's out on track and rolling after 5 minutes of repairs. It's Joshua Fitz-Johnson that my question mark is on, and right as I say that, I think he's back in the car on the pit lane and looking to go in a second. Jacob Onwell from the lead has come onto pit lane, and he's going to have some company. Who was that? Following the apron off the back straight to get onto pit lane. It was Simon Dobner from 25th, 23rd stop. Okay. That rear wing might need some attention for Dobner.
A bit of race tape on the rear wing and send him back out.
Yeah, just get someone to stand on it with 21 laps to go. Give it a good kick. that doesn't put it back into place, then rip it off.
It can't be fixed with cable ties or race tape. It's not worth fixing.
Not in this time frame. So Ira Felberg, then from the lead of the race on the pit lane as well, leaving us just 2 cars that necessitate a pit stop. Surely we're going to go lap certain, not time certain here, but I've just seen my clock flick from laps remaining to time remaining. Just to make me question that. Should be a 120 lap race. Now it's back on laps again. It got confused by the leader pitting.
So is that Bernie out front now we see, who's yet to pit. So he's getting some TV time at the front of the field.
Gone and jinxed him, or well, here we go to pit lane.
Started the race in 11th and found himself up the pointy end, so that was a good run for him. But once he pits and falls back into line, we'll see his true position on the track.
We will now just Tim Court, who hasn't pitted yet, but he went 51 laps in the first stint. He's gone 50 now. Be 51 at the end of this lap, so he is coming to pit. And then Hederscheid and Clark go back through into the race lead. And Hederscheid and Clark it is with 18 laps to go. Russell Clark is really keeping close eye and close company on Daniel Hederscheid. Russell Clark and Daniel Hederscheid together. Chastanoff and Alex John not actually so close for 4th and 5th, but now Tim Court pitting. This is the battle for the race lead in the tailing end of this feature for Ozicar Skip Barber Formula Series at USA International Speedway.
As we count down the laps, 18 to go, it could be battle of the nerves for Daniel Hederscheid and Russell Clark. So they've both spent plenty of time at the front of the field before, so it won't be anything new to them.
It's Barton and Martin, the duo sweeping the nation in a battle for 5th. Down the inside for Scott Barton.
It's the job done. Good move.
Would look it, but often these seem to take a couple of corners to actually get enough overlap to make it stick. He definitely looks ahead at the exit of every corner. And the question is, each time around, does he gain a little bit more ground until eventually he'll slide up on the exit and block off Braden Martin? The answer is after a couple of laps, not yet. And I think we're deep enough in this race that someone like Braden Martin isn't just going to give away a position for free.
No, Braden's definitely sticking to that high line. He's going to try and make it work. He's held that position now for 3 or 4 laps consistently, so...
Just now we've seen it crack by the exit of the corner. Button was all the way clear, and it happens again. Ooh, Onwell and McKellar almost made a bit of contact for 7th and 8th as well. They're battling side by side.
So that gap at the moment between Hederscheid and Clark down under 0.2 of a second. So it is nose to tail at the front of the field at the moment. We've got a 4-second gap back to Chastanoff and another 0.2 back to Alex John. So Alex John's actually made quite a bit of ground on Chasty there in 3rd and 4th position. So I'm not sure whether traffic played a part in that or whether Alex has some good speed towards the end of the race.
Yeah, well, here we are. 2-car battle for the lead. 2-car battle for 3rd has just changed hands. 2-car battle for 5th. 3-car battle for 7th. Only person in the top 10 not having a battle is Nathan Verney. But then you look to 11th and 12th, and Tim Court and Jeremy Bush are in a battle. No safety car. No caution. No yellow so far. And I think it's too late for one now. You'd run this one green to the end the way it goes. Everyone is going to need to get their elbows out. But contact or damage could see your race end in tears. This is the lead battle. Nothing in it. Daniel Hederscheid tries to hold his nerve to charging Russell Clark. And I think Hederscheid's come up a little bit wide and Clark smells an opportunity. Hederscheid then covers off the inside into 1 and 2. Clark is trying up high. He's always trying to ride an invisible cushion there where the black line of the rubber is. Didn't feel it working for him on that occasion, but you can see with 4 minutes, 10 laps left to go, Hedderscheid is running these lines defensively, very defensively.
Yes, if Clark's going to find a way around, Hedderscheid's going to make him go the wrong way.
I almost smell Russell Clark looking for an over-under through some of these. How defensively Hedderscheid is running. He thinks he can go up high, bring it down with good speed and get underneath him to get to the inside at the next corner. He's going to try it again, but that's going to get covered off early.
The other thing to consider, if he's moving around in his mirrors, he might be trying to force Hedderscheid into a little mistake.
Looking to the inside at 1 and 2. He's got there. Hedderscheid can't block him off, and the inside now belongs to Russell Clark, running those tyres against the yellow line. Is he going to get all the way clear? He just might. Good move by Russell Clark in the late stages of this race. Just needs to lay real claim to it by running clean down low and getting clear of that overlap from Hedderscheid, which I think he is now. But it's all just shoe on the other foot stuff now, as Clark has to defend from Hedderscheid. While this happens, James Chastanoff in 4th is the fastest car on the track. He's succumbed to Alex John, but now he wants that 3rd place back. Barton and Martin are the same.
Chastanoff was actually one of the first ones to pit for the 2nd time, so you'd suggest his tyres probably aren't quite as fresh as what Alex's are potentially sitting at the moment.
Have you seen any pit stops that weren't fuel only today?
I don't think I have. I reckon they've been changing tyres every time they've come in, so there's no standout quick pit stop. So I think everybody's taken that opportunity to put new boots on at least.
I disagree with that.
Oh, do you? Okay. You can see something I can't see.
What I'm not seeing is any action with the jacks at any of the pit stops. I have observed, and typically you're looking at 15 or 16 seconds to be able to change to when all the pit stops have come in significantly underneath that. Before to go, Russell Clark and Daniel Hedderscheid get to the line, and 4/10 of a second is a huge margin of time for Russell Clark. How much pressure he's been under. This is where it gets complicated with some of the traffic. Braid and Barton. Has that been Sean Doyle trying to get a lap back on these guys as well? Scott Harvey, okay, sorry. Martin doesn't know what to do about it. He's got to go high and then duck down underneath all of the apron that he can get his hands on. Try to get to the inside. Scott Barton.
And Scott Patterson's the car in front of our lead two at the moment. They'll be the first ones that the leaders come across.
Ouch. Jacob Anwell's had to make a 3rd pit stop, a splash and dash of fuel at the end, 3 laps to go. He didn't have enough, and now he's back into 15th. It's something you try to avoid in a race like this, but it has gone green all the way, and of course fuel consumption now probably a bit higher than in the early phase of the race where everyone was running in a pack. I think the white flag is waiting for Russell Clark and Daniel Hedderscheid in their lead battle. Hard to tell, very, very close. There it is, the white flag. Russell Clark has 2 more corners to try to defend this one, and he's all the way down to the inside on the pit straight to defend Daniel Hedderscheid. He's just got to do it again into 3 and 4, and this race win can be his. For everything at this to stop Hedderscheid getting to the inside and getting a run on him. He's thrown it in narrow, gotten a bit wide, had to check up at the apex, and we are going to get a drag race. Hedderscheid, can he get a run to the line? He can! Off 3 and 4, Daniel Hedderscheid steals the win as Russell Clark over-defends it in the photo finish for the win in Ozicar Skip Barber Series. Probably a photo finish for 3rd and 4th as well between Alex John and James Chastanoff. The rest of the field is going to come around to see the completion of this one. Hedderscheid has stolen it between turn 4 and the line.
200ths of a second between our first 2 place getters there, so great drive off that final corner by Daniel Hedderscheid, and Russell Clark literally missing out by a coat of paint.
Kicking himself. He didn't want to let Hedderscheid get to the inside, and I think almost just over-defended that one, drove in really shallow. The car then started pushing up. He had to get out of the throttle. Hedderscheid was right place, right time. Just sneak underneath him and force a photo finish. 200ths of a second. You could just spot it with your naked eye, and Barney had the best view of it. The podium is completed by Alex John ahead of James Chastanoff. Braden Martin in 5th. We'll probably crow about that one on his podcast. Scott Barton in 6th. Alex McCullough in 7th. Ira Felberg in 8th. Then Vernie 10th. And your top 10 is rounded out by Tim Corn. What a finish.
So Alex John, actually our biggest mover tonight, he's up from 27th position where he started this feature race after being 12 laps down in heat number 1. So he had an absolute cracker of 120 laps to fight his way back through the field.
The remainder of our field. Yep, Jeremy Bush, the last car on the lead lap, and then Dennis Hancock, Scott Harvey, Peter Wilkinson, Jacob Unwell with that extra pit stop. 1 lap off the lead, then 2 laps down. Easy to happen for 120 laps around a track like this. Dan Lisieux, Matthew Mites, Greg Holmes, Leon Williams. Then the field is rounded out by Sean Doyle, who had that unfortunate incident, came back out, carried on, gets 20th place ahead of Jack Patterson, Craig Kerman, Joshua Fitch Johnston, Vic Bent-Veltzen, Simon Dobner, Justin Howe, a retirement, Cameron Cousins, a retirement, and Donald Sabinell from the front row, retirement on lap 5. Sum up your thoughts on that one. 2 pit stops, green the whole way, and lead change between 4th and the line.
Well, I think when I opted to do an oval race at the start of the season, that certainly wasn't on the cards. That finished the incidents we had throughout the race. There was battle packs everywhere, and it was literally an edge of the seat stuff, which we tend to find with the skippies. But even the heat races through to the feature race, they were all close races, and everyone proved to, I think, enjoy themselves tonight. Most of them did, at least, anyway.
Well, we've got our 1st and 2nd place drivers involved in that photo finish. Maybe Jay will pull that one up, because what a stunning move from Daniel Hederscheid to keep his cool and manage to drive off the corner low to steal the race lead back late. We're going to get one of them drivers, Daniel Hederscheid, in the room, and he is with Jason Fewens.
Daniel, congratulations on top step of the podium tonight. A lap to go. You probably didn't quite think that was going to happen.
Yeah, I actually thought I'd left my move a little bit too late. Like, I wasn't too gutted about him getting in front because I had a little bit of fuel to save before the end, and I thought I'd stuffed it. But yeah, he made a little error on that last turn, which gave me a little opening for the drag down the start-finish straight.
So it was literally just a matter of foot to the floor, hold your breath, and hope for the best.
Yep, pretty much, and not touch any wheels. Don't bounce over the line.
Well, that's one for the record books for you, at least. Anyway, 0.02 of a second there at the wave of the flag. So that was a brilliant result for you. Well done.
Yeah, cheers, man. I'm pretty glad to finally get the first podium and win under the belt in Ozicar. It's a pretty good night.
Well, the first one's always the hardest. Do you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors?
Yeah, shout out to the 111 boys again, and Simspeed for putting on a good broadcast. Obviously you, Jason, in the comms box, and yeah, cheers to everyone. All the racing was really clean tonight. No cautions on a short oval, so pretty impressive, really.
So for my own personal interest, did you actually take tyres throughout the heat races or throughout the feature race?
No, just fuel.
So the thought there was never ever to take rights. It was just splash and dash each time you made it in.
Yeah, you probably know as yourself, these things take so long to get up to temperature, and on the oval it was just a nightmare for about, I don't know, 6 laps before the tyres would come in. My tyres were feeling good the whole time. For about that mid-stint there, I was just sort of sitting behind cars, just pacing my fuel a little bit and pacing my tyres just to extend everything a bit to get me to the line.
Well, the strategy certainly paid off, so first place tonight, so well done for that result. We'll probably throw over to Russell very shortly to see what his take on it all, but I'm sure he'll be rapt for you. But to even take that away from him, he'll be very proud of what you managed to do.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
I got a little tongue-tied earlier, but there we go. Daniel Hederscheid, today's race winner in the feature here at Ozicar Formula Skip Barber. Let's move one step further down the podium. Next up, we've got Russell Clark himself, Mr. Milo. And here he is. He's with me, Russell Clark. leading the start of the final lap. You're looking in your mirrors, and then what happens?
Then I didn't drive good. I didn't
Yeah.
like that at all. Yeah, I just went slightly too hot into the final corner. And yeah, it ended the way it ended, and I was very sad.
Any change in the balance of the car across 120 laps? I mean, what were you... Was each lap the same as the next, or was there some real evolution out there?
Yeah, it's pretty much once the tyres get up to speed, the Skippy tyres don't wear out at all. So yeah, just drive around until the end, and that's it. It's simple, really. I don't know what I'm doing with ovals, so I just did laps and it worked out okay-ish.
Yeah, fair enough. No shame in second, and what a great finish you gave us. It seemed like you did well sticking with the pack, and then a lot of your gains were through the pit lane, some really competitive pit stop times. What have you been putting in the breakfast cereal for your pit crew, or what was the strategy on the fuel or the fuel saving there to make sure you got in and out of the lane quicker than everyone else?
We actually sprinkle a little bit of Milo in our fuel, but it really improves the efficiency.
I felt like you were going to say that, to be honest.
Yeah, but breakfast it's mostly just crumpets with honey.
Yeah, understandable. Okay, and then for the fuel strategy there, though, were you consciously trying to save a little bit to go quicker through the pit stops, or is everyone else just being super cautious on their fuel margin?
No, I wasn't trying to save it. JRT was pretty accurate, so yeah, I was working with Alex pretty well once we cleared that pack with Doyle and Martin. And once we caught the lead pack, we just couldn't go any further. Once you're in a big draft pack like that, you're just stuck, nowhere to go. So we chose to pit early, and it worked out really well. And yeah.
Well, congratulations on a podium finish, a good haul of points in the Skippy on the oval. Try not to replay this moment over and over in your head when you go to sleep tonight.
I won't. Forget about it.
Understandable. Have a good day. See you next round.
Goodbye, sir.
So second place getter Russell Clark there, missing out on the top step of the podium by 0.02 of a second. But great result for him, like you said, good haul of points for the season. He won't be overly disappointed with that.
No, and then your man of the race, the biggest mover, you are with Alex John.
Alex, when you started the race way back in 27th, third place on the podium was probably a bit of a pipe dream, or did you know you had speed in you to get to the front of the field?
We did a bit of practice racing on Monday night, and I felt fairly comfortable, but it was so tough because sort of once you got a big draft train, it was like the draft was nullified. So, and I got stuck sort of mid-pack at the start of the race for a heap of laps, but I just drove the wheels off it and just prayed that I'd come out somewhere towards the front after the stops, and it worked. So it was really good.
So funny you say that about the draft, because we were talking throughout the broadcast, and I didn't think the draft was going to be quite as spectacular, or you weren't relying on it quite as much as a normal circuit race. But obviously there was a benefit out there by sitting in a bit of a train and getting a tow for quite a period.
Yeah, it was really handy to catch up to packs, and if you could get sort of a really good run off someone and get right behind them, you could get down to the inside, but you definitely needed cooperation to make a pass on the inside in that race, because if they wanted to come down, then it was all over. So luckily we all survived. I can't believe we didn't have a safety car.
So starting so deep in the field at the start of the race, did you have a pit strategy to pit early and get out of some traffic, or did things sort of progress as the race went on and your game plan changed?
Oh, I haven't really raced a lot of oval, but I was thinking here just to sort of just drive the wheels off until the tank ran out, because I had no idea if I pitted, then I'd probably come out in traffic anyway. So basically just run it as long as I could, and then refuel as soon as I could, just in case we did have the safety car at the end.
It was actually good to see a green to checkered flag run there for most of the race. There wasn't too many that ended up in the wall. I think we only had 4 retirees, so most of the drivers that started the race saw the checkered flag, saw Bunny at the end of it drop the black and white, so that was a good result for everybody there. But to start from 27th and find yourself up into 3rd at the end of it, that was an outstanding effort. Well done.
Yeah, thanks guys. I was happy with the top 10, so P3 is just they're fantastic.
You want to do a bit of a shout out to your team?
Yeah, shout out to Alex. I'm not sure what happened in his race there, but he's had another bad one. He's having an unlucky season, so unlucky for him. But thanks guys for the broadcast, and I look forward to watching it back and your commentary, Jason.
Second week in, I'm still trying to find my feet, but we're getting there.
Nah, doing a good job, mate.
Well, that's your podium for tonight for round 4, I think it is, season 7 of the Ozicar Skip Barber Formula Series. So next week we're off to Alton Park for round number 5.
Yeah, indeed, double race format using different layouts between race 1 and race 2. Some other series have done that before. Can be quite interesting. There's a good variety of layouts to pick from at Alton Park. Do you want this chicane? Do you want that chicane? Which cut through do you want? Do you want to go all the way to the hairpin there? So that's one we look forward to next week. The Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. What a race today at USA International after 120 laps. Just 100th of a second in it at the line. Good stuff. Good fair racing. That is your photo finish. No safety cars, no gimmicks, no bop. Just Daniel Hederscheid edging out Russell Clark for the win in Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. Been David Haynes, been Jason Fewens with me, and we will see you next week on Simspeed TV for Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series at Alton Park.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?